shop here cleaning, and came across a little camp axe with a broken handle. And I've reforged these before, and I thought, you know, hey, this is a great opportunity to do a video on how to reforge a camp axe and turn it into something cool. So, if you don't like to subscribe yet, be sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and we'll get it started. It's going to be a fairly quick video. One thing I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off some edges and some points, because I'm just going to end up forging that edge back into itself. This is probably, I'm going to guess like a 1055 steel, something like that. Nothing real great, but it'll work for an axe. Alright, so right there, I'm taking that edge down, taking those tips off, just going to make it a little bit easier when forging. And now we're going into the forge. I'm going to turn this up. And now we're going to go in the other room where I've still got stuff packed from being at Turtle Island. And we're going to get some hammers, because I want a straight peen for sure. I know I got a rounder there. It's going to be a fairly quick video. This is just reforging, so there's not going to be anything really real complicated about this. I will likely re-drip that the eye to take a tomahawk handle, and trying to get things organized in here. It's more of a mess than anything. All right. So this is what one of those axes looks like with the handle in it. How's it going? Oh. Some Cheyenne short-handled hammers. Grab a couple of these. Oh. Got some flames coming off that axe head. That's telling me that, for one, it's definitely burning out some of that epoxy that they put inside the head instead of wedging it. Hey, it works, I guess. Right now, the eye of that axe is actually hourglass shaped. It's wide at the top and the bottom and a constriction in the center. And the reason that's done is for, like, essentially a wedged handle. And with one of those wedged handles, you get, you want it wide at both ends, so you get that hourglass cross section. So, that's definitely burning off some paint and stuff. Part of that blade's coming up to temp, so part of this is going to be reshaping that blade and then re-drifting the eye. I'm hoping to do this in a fairly quick video. Coming up to temp pretty quick here. Well, here we go. First things first. It's going to be doing a little bit of hand forging here on the anvil. We're using my rounder here. You see how I'm starting to level out the top. It's kind of more of a Hudson Bay style now. And that's going to change as this piece progresses. I think what I want to do, I want to go with a little heavier straight beam right there. Gojo, how's it going? Once more, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. And I'm going to be going in with my straight peen hammer. Back into the forge, and we're going to be going over the power hammer next. Grinder dust right there. My shop's not very clean, but I do like the function. Nice thing is, if I spill oil, I got all this dust I can soak it up with. There we go. Now we're up to temperature, and we're going to have some fun around here. Change the profile of the axe. All right. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. We're adding a Q&A sticker. All right. So what I'm going to do, I want to forge this blade. I'm going to change it. I really don't want it much wider. I might turn it more into a bearded axe. There's a lot I could do. But for the most part, I'm probably just going to modify this more into a trapper's tomahawk. Time will tell. All right. So once more, coming in. Dip it in there. I'm going to throw it on the ground. All right. There you go. I don't know exactly what grade of steel this is. We do know at this point that it is forgeable, and I've done this a few times. Anytime we have somebody break a handle out in the axe lanes, we just end up taking that. If it's not a tomahawk, and usually turning it into a tomahawk. So what I want to do next is essentially what I just did. I've upset that area. It's mushroomed down. I'm going to take it over the power hammer, even that out. This is going to elongate some, but it's going to become a very useful design. All right. Bring that down just a little bit more. Alexander, how's it going? Gaming, how's it going? All right, guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep reshaping the blade of that axe. Probably going to make it a little more acute at the bottom. Like I said, it's coming along. I'm liking it. See how that's coming along? It's coming along pretty decent. Get it a bit hotter, start hammering some more. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. Now, on this particular piece, I'm looking at doing differentially hardening. So what I'm going to do is I'll quench the pole, the hammer portion of it, and then I'm going to bring that out, let it cool completely. I'm going to heat that edge up, probably about that far back, and quench it. So it's going to have plenty of good hard steel, and maybe a little bit of auto tempering before it actually goes into tempering. Likely heat treat will be in another video. not need this heavy, as heavy of a hammer as what I'm using. So I can go to my Trimp-Tie Purgatory Ironworks hammer right here. That I swear this thing had more face on it, but I've been using it daily for several years, and it's getting worn out. So I'm going to get that blade up to a high temp, and I'm just going to profile it a bit more. Like I said, I'm going to turn this into more of a trapper's tomahawk, and so something with a longer handle, and with overall a more desirable profile. Now, these little axes aren't bad. They work rather well, but I only have so much use for a handle that long. Heat that up just a bit more. And this is really going from a double flare to probably a single flare, kind of like a large tomahawk profile blade with a single flare. Tomahawk eye, so we're crossing that like a Hudson Bay hawk. Okay, there will be some correction with the forging. Right. Pretty minimal work on reforging something like this. So a lot of people are probably going, hey, you're not really forging an axe. It was already an axe. You're just changing it. I am changing it. And it was very common back in the day that when your hammer got worn, that it would be reforged, it would be refaced. That axes, once a bit was worn out of it, that another would be welded in. You may even change the design. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. James Crawford, how's it going? So, that's coming up to temp. Now we're going to start into drifting. What is drifting? Drifting is taking a hole and making a specific shape. Somebody's going to be using that term this next weekend, I'm sure. All right. So drifting will be done here on the swedge block. Big friendly hammer. If it's not going, don't force it, get a larger hammer. And there we go. So I'm going to take this axe eye and turn it into a tomahawk eye, drifting bottom up first. Yeah, that's more teardrop shape. It's opened up. A lot of people ask, why do you drift bottom up? Well, I drift bottom up because, frankly, that. I need it to be in line. I need it to be, you know, essentially straight. And I don't need to grip that top because it's wedged from top down. I don't need to grip that until the end. When I do this, I want to make sure that's really, really hot, because otherwise it can tear, it can crack, it can just be not cool. Now let's go ahead and do a little more drifting. And I'm going to drift bottom up again. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to open that up a little more. If I put a larger handle in there, especially for something you might be chopping, throwing, and pound of tent sticks with, it's going to be ideal, you know, to be able to take a little larger handle, a little larger diameter. What I'm going to do that last drip top down, then I'm going to check for alignment. This is one of the few times you'll actually see me wearing two gloves, so. Here we go. Now we're going to heat that up hotter. Close, but not quite. Want that a lot warmer. While I'm waiting, did a little quick grinding right there. Alright, here we go. Coming in from the top. Relatively straight. I've got to do a little bit of alignment. I'll be using a swedge block for that. My Holland anvil swedges. And what I've got to do is, where that blade was, the eye was over here, so it was turned. That's exaggeration on it, but that's what it was. This doesn't need to be real hot for this part of the process. Kind of even it out a little bit first. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the forge now. Get that blade warmed up. I'll do the majority of my work on the anvil on this round. Big? Oh, no, not at all. Okay. Right. Now I'm going to check this one out. I'm going to put it on drip. I'm going to sight it, and it is crooked. Figured it might be. Now it is less crookeder, but it is not complete. All right. There's an old black and white documentary, actually I think it was colorized, where there's a dude in Sweden, like traditional crafts from Norway, and he takes old axe heads and he cuts the bit off and he reforges them. It's pretty cool that way, really. So a lot of us reworking old tooling. There were many swords that were cut down into corn knives and hunting knives and butcher knives. We've turned hammers into axes. We've turned axes into pickaroons. There's been so many modifications of tooling throughout the ages and throughout time that it's like, hey, if it works, it works. Okay, so from here it's done some reshaping. Now we're looking at doing some grinding. First things first, I am going to normalize the blade a bit. There'll be a few people going, why are you going to normalize a shallow hardening steel like this is probably like a 1055? Why would you do that? I want to refine that grain structure. Even if this is not a great piece, maybe if it is not the best, I still want to go through and make sure that I'm going to produce a strong reworked axe. That come up to temp again and let it cool. Actually, I'm going to get that a little further in there so it brings the entire head up to temp, and then I'll send it over here and let it cool. This is to relieve some of the stresses that are in the axe. There were stresses produced while it was being made into an axe initially, while it was being thrown, now while it's being reforged. It's kind of like, why did I take the edge off? Well, because that edge would have been, you know, essentially a weak point to forge into. We'll let that cool, and then I'm going to probably do one more cycle on that. It's going to be grind time. Looks to me like I do have some warpage in the blade that I'm going to have to correct. Some of you may be going, oh, I thought you were going to make it into something awesome. I want to, you know, maybe a battle axe or a bearded axe or a spike hawk. Well, here's the thing. To me, the Hudson Bayhawk, and Cold Steel did produce one. Tomahawk handle, like 21-inch long handle, something like that. About 2 inches longer than standard. And had the hammer pole on it. And I used one. I used one for about a year, and then I put it away. In fact, I need to replace the handle on it. But I want to tell you this much, guys. That being able to take something and making it more functional is pretty awesome to me. You know, can you take an old chisel or a punch and reshape it and heat treat it and bring life back to you? I think that's a great thing. This one, a lot of people would have discarded, or you know, would end up in the estate sale in the box of other hammerheads and junk. I want to heat up that hammer pole while I go into refine or do the heat treat and normalizing on that blade. Once more, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do so. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just relieving stresses, kind of doing normalizing, and doing my grain refinement on this piece. Now, there's a big difference between making tools and making knives. Now, are knives tools? Yes, they are. Can you do more with some other tools? Is the heat treat as particular on some of those tools? It really varies. And I found that when I make my axes, if I do my grain refinement and I do similar heat treats to what I would my knives, I get a better result. I get better edge retention, more durability, and overall I get a better product. And that's what I'm looking to turn it out here, making this better. So now I'm going to let that eye cool. While I'm heating up the blade. And once this cools, I'm going to turn the forge off. I'm going to put the head of the axe into the forge. And I'm going to lay a couple knife blades in there because I still need to get that, get those blades normalized. Now what temperature does it turn red hot? It depends upon your ambient lighting and the alloy. You know, you're probably looking somewhere between 12 and 14, 13 to 1400 degrees. You start to get kind of red. Some steel that's brighter, some steel that's darker. White hot, you cannot make steel actual. You can bring it to a high yellow, but white hot, it is burning it. At a high yellow, in the yellow range, you're starting to burn your steel. So, once more, it depends on the alloy steel and so forth. White hot generally refers to iron. White hot is semi-molten. In wrought iron with the slag inclusions, the silicon and so forth, you need to have that much hotter to work it without it coming apart. You're very welcome, Bluegill Buster. So let me show you what I've got at this point. So now I have more of a Hudson Bay style camp axe, but it takes a tomahawk in. I'm going to do a little bit of grinding on this, do a little bit of refinement. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed, now's a great time to do so. And once that comes down to temperature, once that blade's not glowing anymore, it's going back into the forge. I'm going to shut the forge off, and that radiant heat from the forge itself is going to heat that blade up to a low temp, allow it to cool slower. I have a couple of knife blades in there. These are 1095 high carbon steel. They were forged out during our forging festival here on Main Street. And I need to get those finished out soon. So I'm actually going to use the cold steel, so to speak, cold steel of those, even though they're hot to the touch now. Cold in relation to the temperature of the forge, to drop the temperature of the forge so that things don't come up as hot. It's a slower relief. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is actually, in the thicker portions, it's still red kind of in this area. And I'll use my shadow here. I mean, there's still quite a bit of red heat there. It's a low red, and with the sunlight from the windows and my shop lights, it's going to look a lot darker than what it is. Also, at times, the camera on the phone picks up colors that I can't see in here. Like a lot of times, it looks a lot hotter, almost welded heat when it's not. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to come over here. And really, I'm just worried about the cutting edge on this. But I'm going to put the whole piece in here. Because being it's cooler than the forge is now, cooler than that refractory, I can still take that. And the heat will migrate. You can see how the color, the interior of the forge is getting darker. It's going from an orange to a red color. And that heat's going to essentially just kind of migrate or seep into that steel. Bring it up to temp, and then it's going to cool slow. So I'm doing this a couple times On my high carbon blades, I generally do that 3 times. And some people say, why do you say high carbon blades? What else would you be forging and heat treating? Well, clearly. Now on some of the experiences we do here, where we do super quench on some softer steels, to harden those up, we generally don't do the normalizing. When we're working non-ferrous, so let's say we're working copper or silver blades, 1, those are not quenched, they're work hardened, and 2, it's not necessary to really normalize those. We forge them hot, we let them cool, we forge them cold to harden them, and they go from there. Coachman, absolutely. I never met him in person, but I liked watching his videos, and he seemed to have a lot of common sense and try to bring peace to a society that's not overly peaceful. Yeah. So these are now just kind of coming up to a dull red, and I'm going to let them sit. So next step in the process is going to be grinding those, heat treating them, and so forth. And I generally do those in batches, so I've got to look around to see what else I can heat treat in the process. Bluegill Buster asked, how much do you sell your finished tomahawks and knives for? Bluegill Buster, good question. So the spiked tomahawks over my shoulder here, right there, those in shop are generally about $150, $125 to $175. So, and that's basically because I don't have to ship them or anything like that, and I can collect funds immediate. So I don't have to pay processing fees. I have other tomahawks that are going to be from over this way, around, let's say $75 to $100. And I'll give you an example. Here is just a real basic tomahawk. This is reforged from a hammerhead, and I have $80 on that. Here's a Biscayne Bay style axe at $80 as well. Here's kind of more of a fantasy medieval at $100. And it just kind of depends on the day I'm having on what the price runs. $75 on that North style belt axe. It's just if I have to ship them, I mean, you're looking $25-$30 for shipping. But the tomahawks generally start around $75 and go up from there. The knives generally start, I mean, sometimes I got some most of them are going to be $125 on up for knives. Swords, if you can get a sword that I just happened to turn out and was having fun making, like a hunting sword or something like that, you're probably looking at $750 to start. You're going to be closer to $1,200 to $1,500. Like, I'll give you an example. That falchion right there, I've got a couple reverse falchions, one with the wood handle and the wheel type pommel, the talon build. Right now, I'd let somebody have that for $900, just, and that's as it sits. I've got a differentially hardened Wakizashi blade in here that I was just doing a video on recently, and it's not for sale yet. So it's actually part of kind of a little competition, nice friendly competition. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We'll probably do some more videos over the weekend. And if you'd like to check out some other builds, some other videos, or if you have suggestions, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the channel. Tell me what you think, and we'll go from there. You guys have a great one. We'll catch you in a few.